We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order with the thinnest of quorums. We have Alderpersons Brown, Haynes Sharp, Keel, and Fabrizio absent this evening. Since we have some folks in the audience, I will go ahead and read the emergency evacuation notice, which is to just say that in case of an emergency, we are to take one of two exits, the door that most of you all came through or this door over here. And we are to wait at the trees on the same side of the street on South Cuga and Green. We are not to cross the street unless it is strictly necessary. Those of you with restricted mobility, in the event of an emergency, you are to move to one of the stairwells and first responders will arrive to aid you. In the event of other emergencies, you'll be notified at this time. We want everyone to be aware of their surroundings and offer help when it is not to your own detriment. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. As you are your own best advocate. With that, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing on tonight's public hearing. That is moved by Alderperson Matos, seconded by Alderperson Shapiro. And like everything this evening, I'm pretty sure we need a near unanimous vote. May I have all those in favor of opening the public hearing? That carries unanimously, and it's not required because it's a committee meeting, but I did want to make the joke. I have, before I start to read, is there anyone who thinks that they're here for the public hearing who has not signed up to speak? Okay. My first name, I think maybe my first name is Tom Hirsch something. You're great. All right. Thank you very much. My next speaker is Sue Merkel. Please. Yes. So, oh yes. For those of you who may have not been to council before, please come up to the table. Make sure that your microphone is illuminated green before you start speaking. And then once you begin, you will have 3 minutes to address council. They're also, with a public hearing, there's no back and forth. So we register your comments, but we don't respond. So you may begin.
Got it. So my name is Sue Merkel. I live on 104 Park Street, which is right across from Baker Park. Let me start by saying I'm not opposed to public art. I'm a huge supporter of it. I'm just not, I'm not supportive of this piece being put in Baker Park. So I oppose this piece of art being in Baker Park. One reason is that Baker was the city forester and the park was named in his honor. And it seems to me that we should be honoring him and the park with a celebration of nature. We should be enhancing the user experience. Instead, this piece reminds us how screwed up the world is and how much we're devastating our surroundings. And so I think it would be much more appropriate if council wishes to do something to support the park, to think about nature, tree, benches, some way that it would benefit the people who use the park. Also, I think that art is supposed to stimulate our thought. It's supposed to uplift us, engage us. It's supposed to enlighten us, make you think in new ways, allow you to admire the creativity of the owner. For me, this piece does none of that. It's just a mound of welded car bumpers. If beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that is us. We're the beholders, the residents of Park Street, who are going to look at this thing every day, multiple times a day. Every time we go out our front doors, it's going to be there. I don't think it should be displayed in any park in Ithaca, but certainly not Baker Park for the reasons above. If there's another piece of public art that council wanted to consider, we would gratefully consider that depending on what it was. But I think the theme of this piece, which is about how humans are ruining our planet, just is incongruous with the theme of the park and with how the neighborhood views that space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My next speaker is Joan Capone. My next speaker is Jesse Grossman.
If I have a petition to present to you guys.
If you could just into the microphone, just so my dad and the other 3 people watching can hear you.
If I have a petition to present to you guys, who do I?
You may leave that petition with the clerk, and copies of that can be circulated to council. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
You have 3 minutes once you begin.
Okay, thank you. I live at 102 Park Street. I'm a neighbor of Sue. Sue pretty much covered everything that I was gonna say. I decided to go around and get petitions from all of the neighbors that didn't have time to make it here tonight. And the consensus of everyone who signed was, there's no garbage cans in our park. We have enough trash and we don't need more trash. Everyone who signed that was the only statement that they gave me when they signed the paper. They didn't have anything to say other than that. They did have to say the light pollution would bother them, that it's going to be illuminated. That'll cause bugs, that'll cause animal problems, that will cause homeless people to use that space as an encampment, which they already are using the benches in the park to do so. And also, there's kids who play in that park. There's no safety maintenance schedule for that proposed piece of art, when it's going to be maintained, how it's going to be properly fenced off so children can't play on it and get hurt. And to my knowledge, there was no maintenance schedule of when it would be taking care of the cement pad, any of the maintenance around it, weed whacking, the light replacement, any of the above. The park benches have gone unpainted for about 5 years now, and no one's taken the time to come to the park and maintain any of that. So why would we, as residents, foresee that they would come and maintain this giant obnoxious sculpture they want to put there? But other than that, pretty much covers it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then my last speaker for public comment is Ed, is it Califf?
Got it right.
Welcome, good evening, and as you might have heard me say, you have 3 minutes once you begin.
My neighbors, I'm at 106 Park Street. And my neighbors have summed it up for me. I agree with Sue. Some new trees, some shrubs. Maintaining existing shrubs. Mowing, maybe a little more often. All the small things that cost a little extra money are more important to me than these car bumpers. The car bumpers aren't going to match the environment there. I just can't picture it. It'll just draw everybody's eye to it that's going by on the street. And they'll probably run into each other. So my previous neighbors have pretty much said it. I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is my last speaker for the public hearing this evening. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Alderperson Kumar, seconded by Alderperson Letterman. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, that carries unanimously. At this time, I will first turn to recognize, procedurally, I just need someone to move item 3.1. Alderperson St. Perez, please summarize and move.
This is a proposal for the installation of a public art sculpture at Baker Park.
Thank you, Alderperson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderperson Kumar. And this time I will entertain the Director of Planning to provide some preliminary comments, and then I understand that the artist also has comments to address council with.
Yeah, thanks for your time this evening. We're bringing this to you tonight because Common Council has the sole authority to approve or deny public art installations on city property. As you saw in your agenda packet, this is a proposal to put a sculpture, and you've heard from neighbors, at Baker Park. And as you've heard, Baker Park is a small passive recreation park on the edge of Southside neighborhood. It doesn't have any major facilities. There's no plan to put any major facilities on it, but in Southside Plan, which you are familiar with because you've heard about the zoning, there is a proposal to put a pavilion there sometime in the future, although there's no specific plan for it. So for this particular proposal, the history is important for you to know. The artist received approval for a similar piece at this park in 2019. Piece was not installed, and the approval expires after a year. So the artist, Monica Franciscus, who's with us tonight, has requested permission to install a similar piece at the same location. And before I turn it over to her to give you an overview of her proposal. Just want to familiarize you a little bit with our internal process. Our application was required. That is in your agenda packet. Also required was notification to property owners, to properties within 200 feet of the park, which was done by mail. We also posted the property with a QR sign with a QR code, which led people to information about the proposal as well as information about how to comment on it. And we also, as is our practice, circulated it internally to city staff to identify any city or park operational issues. We provided you with the public comment. We didn't provide you with the staff comments, but we do have a synopsis that we're happy to provide during the discussion. So I want to welcome Monica, and did I miss anything? Yeah. Okay. I want to welcome Monica to City Hall and invite her to present her proposal to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Monica Franciscus, the artist from Ithaca, with a proposal for a temporary sculpture downtown. Temporary. The former one was permanent, but I didn't build it in the year. No one told me, and then there was COVID. It's a 9-inch tower built using repurposed plastic car bumpers, so they're not welded. These are highly designed and engineered to withstand the elements. I assemble them shingle-like with screws, washers, and nuts. Solar lights illuminate the inside, so just peeking out from the holes. A few years ago, my 2 teenage daughters told me with anger and sarcasm, "Thank you for leaving us this world with all of its environmental problems that we will have to fix." Up until that point, I had been a figurative artist doing representational art and landscapes, and I thought continuing to make decorative, pretty pictures was irresponsible. And so art, whether it's music, fashion, literature, or sculpture, reflects the times and the issues. It's not just decorative. It stands for and says something. It should be provocative. It should intrigue. It should cause curiosity and questions. And controversy is welcomed because it starts the conversation about the important issues. So for the last decade, I refused to buy materials, given that so much is produced and thrown away, ending up in landfills. I wasn't a sculptor and never thought I'd work with car parts or plastic. But the material, the industry, and the product very much reflect the gravest issues facing our democracy, our society, our environment, and our survival. So plastic car parts are perfect to make the point that fossil fuel burning machines need to be replaced by sustainable alternatives. And we are very lucky that Ithaca has adopted the Green New Deal, and my piece will reflect many of the issues involved. My towers illustrate a lot of these things, and they're about plastic, consumerism, society that prioritizes profit, companies that keep producing and polluting, robots in the workplace, and subsequent unemployment, poverty, and inequality. It's about single-use disposable items, how we travel, sustainability. It's about politicians and corporations collaborating on who builds what. And it's about landfills, of which there are many. Some are already closed. The tower is for all ages. I've been pleasantly surprised by the young children, utility workers nearby my house, Uber drivers, contractors, passers-by who stop, get out of their cars, stop walking their dogs, and come up the drive with questions. They are curious. And they say, "We have never seen anything like this." And they ask to look around. And of course I say, "Come on in." Art is meant to communicate contemporary issues to all ages. The towers are visually compelling, it seems. Why here? Why Baker Park? The last City Council committee suggested Baker Park for my permanent sculpture. maybe because there is nothing in it. I just didn't know I had to build it in a year, so I am back. It's fitting. It's by a reuse center. It's by a car repair shop. It's by a car wash shop. It's by a car tire shop. The park has few old benches, as the man pointed out, not painted in many years, no flowers. And in 26 years that I have lived in Ithaca, I have never seen one person in that park. I can't think of a reason why not to put my sculpture there. Besides a few murals, the artwork in town is bike racks and electric box paintings. There are no large sculptures in downtown Ithaca, yet many local artists, many parks, and no art that I know of in them. I have several 9-foot towers right now out on loan, which I have been paid several $1,000s just for the loan. SUNY Oswego, it's there for 3 years. Oxford Library outside of Boston until November. Sheridan, Wyoming Art Center for 1 to 2 years, and I've been invited to give a talk, and they are putting me up. I was also invited to the Cornell Biennial in 2022. One of 5 upstate New York artists to participate. I plan to be available to K through 12 for this sculpture, to take them down there. I'm collaborating with a Cornell professor who will incorporate the piece in his class to highlight art as a catalyst for change. In the same way that a 5-year-old loves to say Tyrannosaurus Rex, I hope that the new terminology will be learned, such as net zero, sustainability, emissions, carbon footprint, and that they will each know that every person has an impact on this earth. And we are at a very critical point, and it is their responsibility to take care of the soil, water, and atmosphere for the next generation. I am covering all the costs for this installation and the cement that it is on. That's my proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll turn to council for comments or questions. Alderperson St. Perez.
I'd just like to clarify, I believe I heard you say it is 9 inches. I assume that was,
Sorry, 9 feet, 9 feet.
okay,
9 feet.
I was confused. Did planning staff have anything more you were planning to add in before we get into this fully?
I think Monica wanted me to run through the photos.
Yes, so this
So-
is at SUNY Oswego. It's there for 3 years. This is
Let me
in
make that-
Sheridan, Wyoming. It was shipped a few months ago. It's there for 1 to 2 years. It's all plastic, and these are held together with screws, nuts, and bolts. That's another one that's outside of Boston at a library. And that's another view. These have been in my yard for a while. They weather extremely well. This is just one covering my water pipes, whatever. Another one, just examples of different formations. And that's just one in my living room. The cutoff parts, because I refuse to throw away anything. I use it all. And I just wanted to include this one because I took this one myself to Boston, and it sustained 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds.
I'm assuming strapped down though, right?
Oh, honey, yes.
Okay.
It is strapped down. You better believe it. And it has an if you go to the next one, I think there's an armature inside. So this is pressure treated wood, and they're cross ones. It's very stable. It is mostly covered with the bumpers, so, and on a concrete pad. So it will not, have a lot of wind or rain touching it. So, it should last. I have a deck that's made of the same material, and it's been there for 10 years. So being a temporary sculpture, it should hold up pretty well. There are some solar lights at the top, just a few, and they shine down. It's not going to be Broadway. It's just, an added thing to symbolize sustainability.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we did circulate to staff. we have comments from staff if you'd like a summary of the comments to pass around. But mostly our job in planning department is to just make sure that the application got to you and that you were able to fill it out and that we were able to circulate it and get comments from other staff members and that we are bringing it forward to you for your decision making.
Thank you. Next on my list is Alderperson Letterman.
Sure. Thank you for coming and presenting. Let's just pass this around one moment. I get the sense from the folks who live in that neighborhood that they would not appreciate it there. And while I'm sure there's a good home for this, it sounds like the park is not the right one. So I'm not in favor of putting the sculpture up there. But thank you for your sort of interesting creativity, and glad I now know there's a sculpture application for the city. I don't know how many we get, but maybe that'll be my next act. I don't, but I don't. It would be nice if someone from the public came here to speak in favor of it, but sort of an absence of that, I feel like this is not well situated. So, and especially the lighting too. I can really appreciate how neighbors would not want additional lighting in a park at night. So, I'm against this.
Alderperson Matos.
Yes, thank you for coming in and speaking to us, and thank you to the constituents who also came out to speak during the public hearing. Echoing what Alderperson Letterman just said, I will not be voting in favor of this art sculpture. I've talked to constituents in the neighborhood who also do not agree, and seeing the comments. Thank you.
Alderperson Shapiro.
I mean, I was just curious. I don't know that the planning department can answer this or not, but I was curious. Some of the folks that came out here today had said that even like the park benches haven't been painted in like 5 years. And that struck me because I support public art, but I'm thinking like, shouldn't we maintain a park at its basic level first? I don't know. I'm wondering if you could speak to any part of the maintenance issues that were raised.
As you know, my department is not involved with the maintenance of the parks, but yeah, the fact that the benches haven't been painted in 5 years is a concern.
Next on my list is Alderperson Kumar, who has not yet spoken.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out tonight and presenting your artwork. I think it's a really neat piece of art, and I do think that it does have a place in Ithaca as a public structure. I just do also hear the concerns. My chief question is about the safety, about maybe children playing on it, if there's like any concerns that you have or any measures that you have to ensure safety. I don't know if it has like sharp edges or it looks climbable. I don't know. I'm trying to think from a 10-year-old's.
Do you think children get hurt on car bump?
Oh, sorry. Yes,
Of course. Do children get hurt on cars around the bumpers? They're soft. They're not pointed or sharp. They move. So can you climb it? Sure. It's a crime to deface art. I was thinking, put in cameras, put in signs, do not climb. There's a lot of art on campus. This has been on SUNY Oswego, and there have not been problems. There's not been graffiti. There's not been any kind of defacing or climbing. So, when I got there, everyone was like, oh my God, really bad word starting with an F, cool. And I don't know that they see the car parts. I think they see the form as a whole. And then if they hate it initially and then they find out what it's about, it's cool because they understand and they agree.
Yeah.
Because the reasons are not a joke.
Yeah.
They involve all of us, our air. These do not disintegrate. Some of the biggest landfills are right up here in Seneca Falls. One was supposed to close in 2015. No, sorry, 25 this year. Texan, he asked for 400 more acres, 70 feet higher. I don't know if he got it, but it's a problem. These things are like, how much are we going to produce? We have to stop. At what point does the public say enough? No more of this. It's in our systems. It's going into our DNA in our cells, and it's affecting our health seriously. So You know, I don't know, when is the public going to just say, let's have something pretty? No, we need to react to the corporations. And, you know, I don't like plastic. I gave a job up at Cornell, full-time job. I gave up great salary. I gave up painting pretty landscape. Hell, those sell really well. These don't, but I have something to say. And my kids are pissed. And they're now 20 and 21. And they're being left with this. So, you know, I don't love plastic either, but what it says is more important. And conceptual art, which this is, it's about an idea, communicates something to the public that we need to pay attention. And this is just not about the car parts. It's about how are we getting around. You know, there's not going to be a park. There's not going to be green grass anymore. We are in a very serious situation. We don't have a choice. We're going to go on as usual, just driving around. I have an e-bike. I walk and I ride a bike, and I am 63.
I really, really like agree with the point that you're making, and I see the passion. I understand that I share it, and I do think that your art definitely has a place in Ithaca with our
do. How
ethos
about
of the
it?
city. Yeah,
Let's have something.
and
If we could just allow
Yeah.
the council members to finish their remarks, that'd be
Absolutely.
tremendous.
But I'm concerned less about college students and vandalism. I do think maybe signs would be enough to deter that. I'm just a little bit more concerned about maybe like young children, and also even putting it somewhere that's not necessarily a park, but still having it be on public land. Something that would be, I feel like that would encourage play a little bit less. And additionally, the park, if there's very few people that visit it anyway, if that is due in part because of it's not as well maintained, maybe like I really do think like centering this art somewhere with more foot traffic that would be like not somewhere that is extremely residential or that like children go to play would be a better spot for it. And I think a more fitting one as well. But I really appreciate what you're trying to say, and I think it's really cool. I would love to see it somewhere.
Alderperson Nguyen.
So for the plan stuff, I know Jean had some input on placement and some commentary. Did she also mention, and I see too that there's an option, when we originally voted for it, which I'm pretty sure I voted for it back in January 2020. And the difference I will say is like, I voted for many art projects throughout the city, and typically they're regarded with support or indifference. And I think even in the original iteration, there was some opposition, but it wasn't quite as organized as this time around and vociferous. That's a sidebar. Did Jean say anything about the plan if we decided to go with an impermanent solution? What would happen with the concrete slab? Because that is significantly more permanent than the structure itself.
That was actually one of the staff questions. So when we forwarded staff, the staff review it not for aesthetics or for meaning. They review it for, safety and kind of some practical aspects. And one of the questions that came up was that, once we put a 6-foot concrete slab in place, we have to be able to maintain that for the long term as a permanent fixture. And there is no plan for deinstallation right now. And no funds for deinstallation right now. So I don't know if you want to speak to that or not.
Why not keep it as a place for the next temporary piece? Because as I see it, I'm not sure this city supports public art or local artists. And shouldn't it be time?
I have a couple of repeat hands, but I'll recognize myself first as I've not spoken to this. So some of my concerns have been addressed. I do want to sort of pointedly, because the artists mentioned that it is temporary in nature, I do want to sort of get explicit clarity on what the financing plan to remove and maintain the structure would be. I've heard that, so I guess that's my first question. What are the
The structure, just the structure.
So
That.
I will rearticulate. This installation would need to be maintained.
Why?
That's an assertion that I'm making as a voting member of the body. If your answer is that it doesn't need to be, that's your answer for sure. But typically when we make investments in our infrastructure, there is a maintenance plan associated with that. And so I'm hearing that there is not.
May I speak?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. I have a 2008 Versa, and I've had a lot of repairs on it. Spark plugs, windshield wipers, you name it. Underneath, the struts, the bumpers are good as new. These bumpers were built to last. They're a very specific plastic. If they rip, they can be reattached. The maintenance, that's one of the reasons that I chose them, is they do not disintegrate. And they don't in landfills either. So on all the cars, they might have a scratch on the door, but the bumpers are intact. It's a really effective material. They're built for impact. So ideal for a sculpture. The way I put them together is pretty solid, and they're in all places next to each other. So, they're not moving. The pressure treated wood has a life, but it's, 10, 15 years. This is temporary. It's an experiment.
So understood on the actual bumpers. You also did mention lighting. You also mentioned the concrete slab, and you also mentioned in one of your responses to one of my colleagues, security cameras. Who would be footing the bill for all of those things?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering I need Wi-Fi for security cameras. I don't know if the city can do that or if I can pay a neighbor to use theirs. I could install one. There could be signs, and maybe one camera works and the others are just decoys or something. They're apparently as effective. There was something else you said. What else did you say that I needed to answer?
It was just general questions.
Oh, the lighting. Yeah. So the lighting is really minimal. It's like one of those little lights is for like a staircase. So it's not Broadway. It's really small. And you know what? If you don't like the lights, they don't have to be lights. But they are they're very small. It's like just something like you can see there's something inside. And there are not a lot of holes because there's so much overlap that it's more about the idea of sustainability.
I also want to hit on the safety point. I heard one of my colleagues ask a version of this question to get responded to, and I totally agree that it's not legal to deface public art. I also have a 6- and 4-year-old who like to run past railings and scream parkour. And so I don't know that me telling them, and we live right there, so like me telling them, you can't climb on this, I don't know that that would be the most compelling argument against them doing it in the world. I am concerned again about what the, frankly, lack of cleanup plan is, right? Because whether or not this, I'm hearing you that the materials are designed to last. I'm also hearing, in response to a pretty explicit question, that there is no plan to remove the installation in its entirety after its temporary period is over. And I am also, like, receiving an assurance that any sponsor for a project like this would maintain it. The confidence for myself is diminished somewhat in seeing that an approval was received 6 years ago, and that this is the first time it's been brought back to the city. I understand, I heard in your preliminary comments that you didn't know that there was a 1-year clock on it, but nevertheless, nothing has been done in the last 6 years. And so that doesn't give me a tremendous amount of confidence that a sponsor would be diligent in ensuring that this remained artistic expression, as opposed to veering into the territory of being more of a disruption for the neighbors. I also think you raise a really strong point about why we need to explore the idea of having sculpture work and other types of experiential art in our parks. I know that the administration is really interested in formalizing and tying together the city's numerous parks into some sort of more formal structure. I believe the initial recommendation for us doing that was sometime around the year I was born, based on one of the reports in your office. And I think that that would be a great thing for us to charge, as a matter of broader city policy, that department or division with doing as we move forward. But for all the reasons I mentioned and for the answers that I've heard, I'm not in support of this project moving forward. Mr. St. Perez is next.
Thanks. Just a question. How many names did we receive on the petition? This to the city clerk who has the petition. 13 names. I mean, that is a substantial amount of the population directly adjacent to the park. Additionally, if this is, I hear a great deal of passion here, but if this is meant as a piece to send a message, and I'm not great at aesthetics, okay? That's not something that I really get, but if it does send that message, I think if we are going to have this piece in Ithaca, it should be somewhere where we're blessed with a large tourist population that comes through the city. We're blessed with a large student population that's here temporarily, right? If this is a message that we're trying to send, I think we should put it in a location that is frequented by those populations and not in one that is, I mean, tucked away.
May I reply?
Sure.
That area is very frequented. There's a lot of traffic cutting through to 13, people going back roads. There's constant traffic. Another reason that I don't think someone's going to climb that. And I mean, if you go to a museum and your children want to climb the Picasso or the Rodin, do you say, sure, kid? I mean, no, there has to be some boundaries, right, for art.
I also wouldn't bring them there versus a public park where they play
You wouldn't
soccer.
bring your children to a museum?
Would I bring them to go see those the art pieces? No, they're not old enough, but they are old enough to play soccer in the field that they
They
do.
are old enough.
Alderperson Letterman, you're next.
I think this is the sort of appropriate week to draw on this analogy, as the late great Tom Lehrer said in his wonderful song about Werner von Braun. Once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun. I'm kind of hearing that same vibe here with the, there's that song?
You know we do.
I'm a big Tom Lehrer fan. Well, I think most of his original records. But anyway, I'm concerned. We're sort of saying this is temporary, but there's also no time at which this comes down. And so I don't feel that is in the public interest. And I think, look, public art works because people can appreciate it, but I'm not feeling that from the neighbors. And I think also there are a whole number of things that have been mentioned here that suggest the city would have to make considerable investments, which it sounds like it's not our first thing. I mean, it's last I heard, the ISS stood for the Ithaca Space Station, and we could just sort of monitor this from the sky and see what happened. But right, like that's not going to happen. We're not going to do this, and I think this is a little unreasonable to ask that everyone in the neighborhood deal with this when it's clearly not appreciated.
I have no further speakers. Alderperson St. Perez.
Given the mood of the body, would it be more appropriate for us to table this to a future meeting or send it for future recommendations or simply vote on it now?
The item has been moved and seconded. The alderperson or others are welcome to make a subsidiary motion, but it's the present motion on the table is to recommend this to the September meeting of council. Alderperson Kumar, maybe if Alderperson Kumar.
I just wanted to ask about what the process would look like for maybe sending this back to the drawing board in the sense of figuring out maybe a better location for it, or starting that process with the complaints from the community in mind, and also the input of council. Would that require a tabling, or would that be a process outside of council? Would that require us to vote it down and then revote?
As the staff articulated at the outset, correct me if I get any of this wrong, but the application was for this location. Council unlike like a legislative item, right? Council has the ability to approve or not approve. Irrespective of the approval notwithstanding, any parliamentary action taken by this body would have the net same effect of saying a new application would be needed. If it were to sit in limbo on the table or if it would be voted down. It wouldn't get installed either way. So,
Okay.
and there would need to be, so there's no legislative remedy to the alderperson's concerns of if the location, if an alternative location would be more suitable, that would be adjudicated by a prospective applicant and the staff.
Okay, well, given that the chief concern is primarily about the location, as I'm hearing, and that it would make a difference between tabling or voting it down now, I'm not going to make any further motion.
Can I say something?
I don't think so. I think we're about to go vote. Unless there are further motions from council. Because there were no further questions. All right. All those in favor of this being recommended to the Common Council? And those opposed? And that fails 0-7. Thank you for coming.
You suggested that park. I'd never heard of that. park.
Ma'am, you're not recognized and I wasn't here when your initial application went through. I don't know who recommended that park to you, but our next item is, may I have someone please summarize and move 3.2, the pilot for INHS's 209 West State Street Affordable Senior Housing Project. Alderperson Letterman.
And I clicked onto the budget document. Rather, I'll just read this. INHS requests the city exempt property taxes and enter a 30-year pilot agreement for an affordable housing project sponsored by INHS pursuant to section 577 of the New York State Private Housing Finance Law. I so move.
Thank you, Alderperson. There's a second by Alderperson Matos. I know we have representatives from INHS here. Are there any comments or questions from council on this item? Seeing none. Alderperson St. Perez.
Just briefly, obviously, we're anticipating that the project will be able to meet all of the promises that are being made into the future, right? Okay. I'm seeing nods. Good. I'm counting on that.
All those in favor of recommending this to the Common Council for its September meeting? That carries unanimously. Thank you for sitting through this. And then finally, 3.3, Community Housing Development Fund, round 25 awards. May I have someone please summarize and move? Alderperson St. Perez.
This authorizes an expenditure towards affordable housing through the Community Housing Development Fund.
Thank you, Alderperson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderperson Nguyen. Any comments, questions, or discussion on this? Alderperson Shapiro.
I actually have the same question that I meant to ask for the last one, but just procedurally, are we putting this on the main agenda for the next meeting? Is that
Yes,
voting on it?
right. This is
Not
a
consent
regular
agenda.
committee meeting. This is just going, yep.
I was just thinking no one's here.
Mhm.
Wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Alderperson. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We have one executive session with the city attorney to discuss, what's it called? Employment stuff? Personnel matters. And we'll get Jimmy the right quote for that because he's a stickler for knowing what the actual term is. May I have a second? Yeah, I move. Second by Alderperson St. Perez. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. We will not have a voting item coming out of this, so good evening, everyone.